Actually, it wasn't even on camera, it was before I came on camera, but there was like a soft padded bit of this door. The rest of the door is metal, and I missed the padded bit and I broke my hand. And I carried on into the scene, white as a ghost. Wanted. Wesley was a lot of fun to play. Getting to play a real sort of normal Joe, a normal guy, whatever normal means. And then you put upon him an extraordinary situation, and people like Angelina Jolie teaching you how to bend bullets around dead cadavers of grannies, and Morgan Freeman like just being amazing and getting to share a screen with him. It was incredible. I helped develop that move, and we were trying to figure out what would it be like, and I was like, well, maybe it's like tennis when you're doing like a kind of, I don't know what that move, I don't play tennis, but you know that move in tennis. I mean, I also learned in gun training that I am the worst shot in the world. I nearly passed out on that job just to do the scene where my veins were popping out my head, where they were going to augment it with CGI veins anyway.
Works well with others? Ha! That's a fucking joke. What is this bullshit? Who's this prick? Some loser gets his head blown off in the Metropolitan. Shut the fuck up!
The studio didn't outright reject me for that, as I seem to remember. And studio, please forgive me if I'm remembering this differently or if I have different information. I wasn't outright rejected, it just took a lot of wooing them and camera testing, because I think Timur, our director, who was fantastic and a lovely guy, he wanted me and he was convinced I was the right guy, but the studio just needed a little bit of help to convince them that I was the right guy. I ended up camera testing a scene that ended up not being in the movie, where the point where Fox, played by Angelina Jolie, meets me for the first time, basically does the "come with me if you want to live" moment, and you know, rocks my whole world and transforms me into a super assassin. That moment in the movie as it is, I'm standing there, I think looking at medication in the medication aisle. In the camera test, we went different, and I'm actually trying to commit suicide, and I was like swallowing hundreds of pills in the aisle as she goes like, "Hey, you're Wesley Gibson, come with me if you want to live." And I'm like, huh? And so I had like 200 Tic Tacs in my mouth for the camera test.
How you doing?
Yeah, good. There was a great piece of improvisation from Common and Angelina. I was like standing trying to figure out if the dummy that I'm shooting, I start to realise, I think that this isn't a dummy, this could be a real person. I think it's a dead person hanging there that I'm meant to be shooting. As the camera sort of like focused in on me and they kind of shaded out of focus, it was, I think they were asked to sort of improvise a little bit of this just background mumble. I don't know if it's in the film, but she brilliantly just went, "Hey, have you seen Alan or whatever lately?" And he goes like, "Nah, I think he broke his leg, jumped off a building or something." And it was just so mundane and real for what these like super assassins must be doing, for what these super assassins must go through in their daily lives, the trials and tribulations of being a super assassin. And it was so real and so just like office chat that it made me lose my shit, and we had to cancel the take. X-Men.
One day the government is going to realize how lucky they were to have Professor X on their side.
I suppose I'm a real professor now, aren't I? Next thing you know, I'll be going bald. We're still on the government side, Maura. Still G-men, just without the G.
No. You're your own team now. It's better. You're X-Men.
Yeah. So I like the sound of that.
So back in 2010, I'd been off work for about a year because my first boy had been born, and I just decided to stay at home. Anyway, X-Men came in with First Class, and they were filming in Pinewood, 40 minutes from my front door, and it was potential to be a franchise, and I loved X-Men from a young age, loved the cartoon, and also loved Patrick Stewart, primarily from Star Trek, from Dune, where he played Gurney Halleck, I think, and then latterly from X-Men itself. So that was a massive draw for me too. Then also knowing the work of the director, I thought it was going to be a very different direction from what they'd done before. As much as I've been a fan of the X-Men franchise, I was also ready for something different, and he took us in a very different direction.
Heterochromia.
A gentleman would at least offer to buy me a drink first.
Norman, pint of bitter for me and a brandy for the lady, please.
How did you know that?
Lucky guess. Name's Xavier. Charles Xavier. How do you do?
So I went and read the script. I had to sit in a restaurant. I think it was a Vapiano on Portland Street, maybe. And I ran out of time. I didn't even get it finished, to be honest with you, because they gave me like a 2-hour slot, and I'm so slow at reading scripts because I'm always sitting there taking notes while I'm reading them. And I didn't even get it completely finished, but I knew I wanted to do it. I knew there was tons of possibilities, loads of fun, potential fun for me to have with the character, and to take him, not in a different direction, because ultimately you'd want to take him in the same direction as Patrick, but there was an opportunity to show a very different side of Professor X and Charles Xavier before he became the Professor, to make it interesting, to show he was a different person to begin with, you know.
Charles Xavier.
Do you have a minute?
For a pretty little being with the mutated MCR1 gene, I have 5. I say MCR1, you would say auburn hair. It's a mutation. It's a very groovy mutation. Mutation, right, took us from single-celled organisms to the dominant form
You know what, this routine may go over great with the co-eds, but I'm here on business.
What?
In preparation for X-Men Days of Future Past, I thought, well, I better shave my hair this time, because this is it now. In prep for that, I got it buzz cut and kind of just very close to size and got a jar head. I thought, we'll shave it for you when I get there. When I got to set, they were like, no. And I was like, all right, I get the script, and it's also set in the 70s, and I was like, right, we're doing hair extensions, and I'll get real 70s hair. Because they were like, oh, we can make this work. And I was like, no, you really can't make this work.
And? What's going on here? Professor?
Please don't call me that.
Why, you know this guy?
Yeah, he looks slightly familiar. Get off the bloody chandelier, Hank.
You can walk.
You're a perceptive one.
I thought Eric...
Which makes it slightly perplexing that you managed to miss our sign on the way in. This is private property, my friend. I'm going to have to ask him to ask you to leave.
When I found out that Patrick was going to be in the movie, and look how Patrick does as playing Professor X, I wanted to go, what? I want to have long hair, and I want to look like I smoke a lot of weed, and maybe do a little bit of something stronger in the 70s, and sit in my purple haze, just to show how far that journey is going to have to be to make him into Patrick Stewart. So I said to the main hair guy, I was like, do you think it's possible that we can get somebody in like tonight who can do hair extensions on me? And I had so little hair at this point. So we found somebody, and we did an 18-hour hair extension session in one sitting. Actually, I think they came back for about 5 hours the next day. And I just sat there for 18 hours, going out of my mind. But by the end of it, I looked like Professor X in Days of Future Past.
Being on the cover of magazines, getting a medal from the president. You like it, don't you?
As opposed to being hunted and despised, well, you know, actually I do. It's all just a means to an end, Raven.
What end is that?
Keeping us safe. You should understand better than anyone that we're only ever one bad day away from them starting to see us as the enemy again.
So what? We wear matching costumes and smile in pictures
That
to make
is a
everyone
small
feel
price
safe?
to pay for keeping the peace.
By risking our people to save theirs.
Yes, yes.
I did want to inject a massive ego into Charles, because I think one of the defining aspects of what Patrick did and who Charles ultimately becomes is his selflessness. But we'd seen that in 4 movies, and now more with Logan as well, in the ones that Patrick did. So I was like, what are we going to do? We want to just do that again? We've got the opportunity to go back in time and show that he had to grow into that person. So ego was a massive thing, because his selflessness was so strong in the other movies. His selfishness, or his self-centered nature, and it's probably what happens to Dark Phoenix. If it was my arc and it was going to carry on and on and on, it's what happened to Jean Grey that makes him turn the corner and become the Professor X that you saw portrayed in the movie back in 2000.
It's the greatest gift we have, to bear their pain without breaking. And it's born from the most human power. Hope. Please, Charles, we need you to hope again.
First Class is probably my favourite movie, but in terms of what I got to do as an actor, I'd say Days of Future Past was probably the most challenging, the most interesting experience I had as an actor on the X-Men movies. But yeah, that was a great bunch of people. We're still relatively in contact and hanging out a little bit, maybe on Thursday, which is really nice, even though those movies are behind us now. Split. Glass. I met M. Night Shyamalan in 2015 at Comic-Con at a party, and we were all there with the X-Men crew. We all got on very well and we all knew how to have a good time. So we were probably partying quite large, and at that moment we had been playing this really ridiculous game which involved hitting each other. I won't tell you how because I don't want to have it repeated and then be blamed for it. Anyway, one of us got knocked out, and it was just after that he went, "Hey, you ever thought about working with me?" He then called up, because I think they had somebody pull out at the last minute, and was like, "Listen, I'm going to send you this script. I don't want to tell you anything about it. Your agent isn't allowed to read it, and you need to sign an NDA and all that kind of stuff." And I was like, "Okay." And within like 5 pages, I was very excited and just praying that it didn't get bad. Because you know, like when you get a good script, and it takes you through page to page to page, and then maybe around like page 60 it just falls apart. You're just like, please sustain, next page is great, please sustain, and it was great all the way through. I was like, fantastic. And I saw what a great acting opportunity and challenge it was for me. And that's kind of what I'm always looking for with a character. Beyond the greater narrative of the story, what is the internal conflict? What is the internal challenge, or challenges, or conflicts? And certainly Kevin and the rest of the people that share his body, they were massively challenged and incredibly conflicted.
And curves, and yeah, you see that one? It's kind of like a chenille sweater dress.
Who are you?
Barry.
I don't think you are.
Probably my favourite character to portray was who we thought Barry was. Barry was actually Dennis the whole time. It was Dennis pretending to be Barry. So that was like many levels of complexity that made it quite interesting to play. So you were playing a version of a young, flamboyant designer of fashion who's homosexual as this brutish, big lout would think he would behave. Hedwig was not quite in control of his body, so there was a lot more loose movements and things like that. I mean, I'm not even quite sure I'm doing Hedwig right just now because I can't really remember what I did specifically, but it was more erratic and it was more frightening almost because it was coming out of nowhere. The dance that we had to do for Hedwig was one of my favourite things that I've ever had to do on film, which was, we kind of workshopped it a little bit, Knight and I, and then we also improvised some bits, but it was real fun. There's a whole bit in it where I get shot and I'm like pretending there's blood coming out of me and stuff, if you wonder what that dance move is.
Don't worry. I'll talk to him. He listens to me.
Well, Patricia was somebody who I think had big breasts, but she felt quite modest about it, so she was always trying to put her shoulders forward and have her head slightly down. And I can't remember with the rest of them. I mean, in the trequel, I guess I do like 20 characters, and I definitely can't remember all of those. But those are the main ones that I remember more than anything. Getting to work with Bruce, who I'd been watching since I was a really little kid in Moonlighting. That was amazing. What a nice guy, what a good guy. I'm really sad to hear that he's had to retire, and I hope he's well and healthy and I hope his family are all good. Anya, from day one, it was really clear she has incredible screen presence, and she's just got an amazing ability to be open to the camera and to the audience, which I think is one of the most important things you need as a performer. Getting to work with Sam, man, the guy is a legend. The man who can say motherfucker and make it sound like poetry. He was somebody who, he went out of his way to support what I was doing, and that was a massive pat in the back for me as a younger performer who admires him very, very much. He didn't need to do that, and he was stunning. And also his performance is just excellent, so when somebody's that good, it brings you up as well. Knight is incredibly specific with his direction, and for that reason, the film that is in his mind is exactly the film he shoots on the day. When it's a different writer, you then meet the director, and who knows, the director might have a different vision from what is on the page, but when the director has written it, you kind of know what's in his heart and what's in his soul and what's in his mind, and the kind of art he wants to create. And the film he made is exactly the film he had in his mind. On Split, I broke my hand. I was meant to punch this door. Actually, it wasn't even on camera, it was before I came on camera, but there was like a soft padded bit of this door, and I took to like just punching it a couple of times before I went in the scene, because I was meant to come in like full of beans and full of adrenaline. And it was the rest of the door was metal, and I missed the padded bit and I broke my hand. And I carried on into the scene white as a ghost, and in kind of shock, and Knight came up to me, I think, after that take, and he was like, "You okay? That scene was weird, that take was weird." And I was like, yeah, let's just go again. I don't think I told him I broke my hand at that point. I didn't realise that I had broken my hand, I don't think. But it became quite clear within a few hours when my hand was like the size of a boxing glove. And there's actually a bit in the film where Dennis puts on his glasses, and it's a profile shot, and you can see my hand is swollen up. And there was apparently, I've not seen this, but I've been told by Knight that there was people sort of commenting online, going like, "Oh, he's turning into the beast, he's turning into the beast." It was just me with my big, gammy, punched up hand. But yeah, I kept going, and I just thought, oh, it's fine, it will probably heal itself. And then on my last day in Philadelphia, before I flew home, I thought, I better go to the doctor. So I went to an urgent care, and they x-rayed it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you've broken 2 knuckles." And I was like, oh God. I had to phone up the director of my next film and say, "Listen, would it be okay if my character was wearing a plaster cast for the film?" And luckily, it worked for the character, and I wore a plaster cast in the next movie because of that. Thank you very much for watching me talk about my characters that they said were iconic. Thank you, take care.